two-step equations. We're going to be looking at those in this video. There are basically two main rules to follow when you're working with two-step equations. The first one is to undo any addition or subtraction. And how do we undo addition? By subtracting. How do we undo subtraction? By adding. And the second step is isolate the variable by doing the opposite. Okay, so let's look at an example now and see how this applies. So the first one we're going to look at is 2w plus 3 equals 9. Okay, our first step is to undo any addition or subtraction. Notice we have an addition of 3 here. So how do we undo that? We subtract 3. And remember, with an equation, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So we end up with 2w. What's a positive 3? And subtract 3 is 0, so we have nothing more there. 9 minus 3 is 6. This is our first step, right here. Now our second step is to isolate the variable, get the variable all by itself by doing the opposite. Well, what is happening to the variable here? This 2 right up against it means multiply. So this means 2 times w. Well, what's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So we're going to divide by 2. We're going to divide this side by 2 because what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Well, 2 over 2 is 1, which we don't even have to show. 1w is the same as w. And what's 6 divided by 2? 3. And that is the one-step equation. Sorry, two-step equation. And now let's just check it to see we go back to the very original equation, and instead of using w, we're now going to use what we ended up with, the 3. So what's 2 times 3 plus 3? Does it equal 9? Well, whoops, sorry, I missed the 3 in there. What's 2 times 3? That's right, 6 plus 3, it does equal 9. So we can check this off. We check. So we know that our answer is correct. Okay, let's try another example. Let's take a negative 2w minus 3 equals 9. Same figures, but we've got some different signs. So our first step is to undo any addition or subtraction. Well, we've got minus 3 here. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. We're left with just a negative 2w. This we know cancels out, equals 12. Next step. Okay, so this was our first step. Our second step is to isolate the variable by doing the opposite. So we know we're going to divide. But what are we going to divide by here? 2 or negative 2? That's right, negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. We're left with just w. And what's 12 divided by negative 2? Negative 6. Now so this right here is our second step. Now let's check. Okay, so this time we're going to take our original equation, and instead of w, we're going to use our answer because we're saying they're the same. And we're going to check it out. Does it equal 9? So what's negative 2 times a negative 6? I'm going to have to come over here to the side so you can see it. That's right, it's a positive 12 minus 3. Well, what's 12 minus 3? It's 9. So it checks. We know we've done our work correctly. So now let's try a different example. This time let's take negative 3 plus 2w equals 9. Notice this time our number and our variable terms are the opposite way around. Well, is that going to make a difference? Nope, not really. We're still going to follow our same 2 steps. So what's our first step? To undo any addition or subtraction. Well, right here we have a negative 3. What's the opposite of a negative 3? We add 3. Because we did it on the left side, we must do it on the right side. These will cancel out, and we're left with a positive 2w equals 12. What's our second step? That's right. Find the variable expression, isolate it by doing the opposite. So again, here we're going to divide by 2. W equals 6. Let's check it out. Negative 3 plus 2 times 6, does it equal 9? Well, what's 2 times 6? 12, right. So we have a negative 3 plus 12. Well, what's a negative 3 and a positive 12? That's right, it's a positive 9. Check, we did our work correctly here. Okay, now let's try a different type of example. What if we have w divided by 2 minus 3 equals 9? Well, our first step is what? Yep, you got it. We're going to undo the addition or subtraction. In this case, it's subtraction. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So we end up with w divided by 2 equals 12. Now what's our second step? That's right, we have to do the opposite to the variable term. So what's being done to the variable here? Division. So we're going to, instead of dividing by 2, we're going to multiply by 2. So what's 2 divided by 2? It's 1, which we don't have to write down. We just have w, but we have to divide the second side by 2. Whoops, see what I did wrong there? We multiplied, so let's erase this. We have to go back and multiply by 2. We get 24. Okay, we made a slip up as we went there. So let's go back and double check and see if we get the right answer. So take our original equation, only instead of using w, we're going to use 24. So 24 divided by 2 minus 3, does it equal 9? Well, what's 24 divided by 2? Yep, it's 12 minus 3. What's 12 minus 3? 9. So our answer is correct. Okay, let's do one more example here. Let's take a negative w over 2, or divided by 2, minus 3 equals 9. Okay, clear. First thing, we're going to undo the addition or subtraction. So right here, we have subtraction, we're going to add 3 to both sides, which will leave us with a negative w over 2 equals 12. Now, so again, here's our first step. Now our second step, we have to isolate the variable by doing the opposite. So what's being done here? It's being divided by 2. But listen very carefully. We can put that negative sign with either the w or the 2. We always want the variables to end up as a positive variable. So we're going to multiply this by a negative 2. So that will get rid of the negative 2 and leave us with just w. We have to multiply by a negative 2. Well, what's 12 times a negative 2? That's right, a negative 24. Let's go back and check it now. We have a negative 24 divided by 2 minus 3. Does it equal 9? Well, what's a negative 24 divided by 2? You're right, it's a negative 12. So we have a negative, and I'm going to put this in parentheses so you can see it clearly. We have a negative 12 minus 3. Okay, and we're still saying, does that equal 9? Well, remember, subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. So we end up with 12 minus 3, and it does equal 9. And that, students, ends the video on two-step equations. I've given you a number of different examples with negatives and positive numbers, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So you should be able to follow this and do any two-step equation that's thrown at you and do a good job. Best of luck.